Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to No Offense. Thank you for tuning in today. We really appreciate it. We completely forgot to do our intro today. The conversation just started rolling and we did not want to interrupt it at all. Our guest today was Kelley Thornton. He's the co-founder and CEO of a company called Tiege Hanley. They're a global men's skincare brand. This guy's wildly successful. He's got a lot of knowledge when it comes to starting companies and scaling companies, and he really just dropped a ton of knowledge on us today. Great conversation overall. We think you guys are going to love it. A lot of value here if you're getting into business, you're trying to scale your business currently. So super pumped to hear what you guys think. We got a lot of new faces, so welcome. Thank you for hanging out with us. If you guys find value in this video, you like this video, thumbs up, comment, share it, like, subscribe. It helps us out a ton. And enjoy the episode. You want to pull that mic closer? I might just run an intro later. We should just talk. Let's just roll. Yeah, we don't even need an intro. Let's just keep rolling. We'll do an intro later. Let's just keep rolling. I like this. Yeah, let's just roll.
Well, I mean, with purchase, like people hire agencies because they want, like they basically want to be told what to do.
Yeah.
You know, they're looking at you as an expert because they have a hole or a gap in their business and they don't know how to solve it. So, you know, so if you come to them and you start asking a bunch of questions, well, what's this and what's this? You really aren't helping them to the extent that they need. True. You really need to come in with a point of view and say, this is our point of view on everything. We'd be happy to just work on one aspect of it, but this is our point of view, and this is the reason why, and this is what the roadmap looks like to get there. And that surprisingly works like really well. And you demonstrate that you have expertise and experience in the space.
I was gonna say, this agency that you're running. So what exactly was Purchase Point doing?
We're an in-store design and strategy company. So our customers were huge billion-dollar global CPGs that want to understand how to communicate with customers at retail, and particularly men. And particularly in personal care, OTC, pharma, and confection. So what basically we're doing is, like, I have this brand, Axe. Axe was a brand that we work with a lot globally. Wow. And it's like, how do we connect with the consumer? Like, when Dom's in the store, like, how do we even, like, how is he even seeing our brand? What does it look like to him? What is his perception of the brand amongst all other brands on the shelf? And how does that differ in channels? So, you know, retail channels, the same thing as online channels. How does that differ in a convenience store? Because your total mindset is different when you go to a convenience store versus when you go to a drugstore versus when you go to a supermarket versus when you go to a hyper or a warehouse club store. They're all different. So we were helping globally. We're helping these big companies like understand, like, how do we present that brand? And it's not just through colors and copy and in-store design, but, like, you know, even the foot traffic, where are people going in the store and their missions. So we were helping with that. And then we create playbooks for these global brands. And then they'll send it to Australia. They'll send it to, all around the world and say, this is our global understanding of how people are shopping for our product. And you can implement some of these.
Where does that whole process kind of start, right? Is it through, like, their actual marketing channels, like videos and social media and stuff? Or did you guys come in as in, like, you know what I mean? Like, when they're seeing the brand Axe, for example, are you taking into account that they already have, like, a perception or a bias towards, like, what Axe is before they see it? Or
right. So it's exactly at the point of what you're speaking of. So they take the whole brand hierarchy, the whole brand playbook, and say, this is what Axe means. This is what the brand means. This is how we talk about the brand and who our customers are. And then they build out all these different pillars. Like, this is what we look like online. This is what we look like, in retail. This is what we do. This is how we activate it, in different environments. And then where is the in-store portion of it? Like, how does in-store fit in to the global positioning and the global communication of the brand? And so then we would just help them out understand, how people are thinking in different stores in different parts or in different regions of the country and around the world, how they're thinking, and then we're putting it together in a brand book.
And for something like that, were you guys able to charge on, like, kind of like a retainer thing, or were you charging, like, kind of like performance based, like based on, like, the sales after you came in, or how did that look?
Yeah, it was mostly ad hoc business. I mean, we become a vendor of record at, Mars globally is the largest pet care producer. and they're out of Brussels. So we did, millions of dollars of work out of Brussels, and then millions of dollars of work out of Unilever in London.
Oh, wow.
In Victoria Bankman, and then locally a lot of stuff for Wrigley downtown, and a lot of pharma, which OTC pharma is primarily in New Jersey. So the Bears, Bristol Myers, Pfizer, these companies that are
awesome.
Claritin, these type of products.
Yeah.
Okay, now did you start the company already just going after that target market? Like, how did you land a company like that when you're just starting out?
Because I was, prior to that, so I spent 18 years in corporate, and I was in sales in corporate. So when I left that, so what I was doing was I was selling in-store fixtures. I was designing and selling in-store fixtures to these same companies, to these huge global companies, for local activations like Mariano's or Costco or whatever. And I would work for the brand to develop this in-store strategy, and then we would produce it. I was with a big company called International Paper, $40 billion global company that's focused on packaging and displays. And but I liked the psychology, the shopper marketing aspect of that business, the design and shopper marketing aspect. So not so much the physicality of what the stuff looked like, but the psychology of why people were actually, motivated to buy and how they would think. So I just pulled out the design and the strategy and the research portion of what I've been doing for 18 years and started a business around it. And I said, look, global companies, think globally about this and apply it globally. So I was already doing business with them, with those companies, and I had contacts around the world in those companies.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, those are some pretty impressive customers to work with.
Yeah, great. I mean, great customers, but it's to do business with big customers is different than doing business with little customers.
A lot of red tape.
Tons of bureaucracy, and they dictate everything. They dictate all the ways of working, all the terms. They tell you when you're going to get paid, how you're going to get paid. It's really tough. So you need to be able to be a small, agile company like you guys are and figure out how to fit into their ecosystem. It's not easy.
Was that hard to scale that operation because of that?
Yeah, you guys are in the service business, and I think, and I applaud you guys for being in the service business. But it's very difficult to scale.
Yeah, it is.
It's really impossible, honestly. So the way I was able to scale it, I'm sorry, I don't mean that. The way I was able to scale it is, I actually immediately, I started the business in 2009. In January of 2010, I spent a lot of time in Taipei, and I built in Taiwan, and I made a first hire there, and I started building a team, and I built a team of about 30 people in Taiwan, and I had it there all the way until, a couple of years ago.
No way.
So I had, legal entity there. And so we would, and then I had a whole team in the US and in London. We would develop in the East, in the West, we would manage and develop the project work. And then at night, US time, we would offload all that work into the the managers over there and the project managers in Taipei. They would work on all the work and they would deliver it back to us in the next morning. And then we would pick it up here, deliver it to customers, make presentations, tweak stuff, prepare it, send it back over to Taipei.
So you essentially had 24 hours.
We had 24 hours.
Rolling.
Yeah, nobody could touch us. That was a moat to our business because nobody could touch us from a price perspective and a speed perspective.
Is that still applicable today, you think, in this similar type of model?
I mean, we're not really, I still have dozens of great friends that I developed over many, many years. Had people working for me for over 10 years in Taiwan. But that business is not managed like that anymore. But there's more of it than ever before. I mean, we were like virtual, like the concept of virtual, someone working virtually or, remotely.
Yeah.
We were like pre that because we were working remotely in the U.S. I had people in both California and in East Coast, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Michigan, and we were working remotely. And then in Asia, we were working in an office.
Oh, wow.
So, I think like a distributed model really works well in the service business that you guys are in, and you can do it. I don't think it works very well with Tiege Hanley, like our like product model.
Yeah, what's going on with Tiege Hanley?
How did you get into that? Yeah, how did you transition from essentially services into now product?
Yeah, well, that is exactly what happened. So like Unilever was really focusing on like, how do we educate men on like personal care? I mean, they were always in Dove Plus Men, for like body wash. I mean, we helped them launch Dove Plus Men's Care because Dove was originally globally a women's brand.
Yeah.
And we launched Axe with them in North America in 2000. And then they all Axe went into hair care, went into body care and stuff like that. We helped them. And then they were really interested in segmentation. So they were thinking like, how are men shopping different from how are women shopping globally? And so we did like a 2-year study with them we were physically in South America, primarily in Argentina and Buenos Aires and in Rio, like understanding how guys were shopping for personal care. And then in Southeast Asia, we were in Korea and in Thailand, really understanding how guys are shopping. And I was like, my mind was blown because like guys here in America, we're like totally guerrilla. Like we don't give a shit about anything. Like we just like, do whatever our mother's spouses, girlfriends tell us. And that was like it. But over there, they were like in Asia, they were like, these dudes are like totally got it down.
Really?
And in South America, they have their shit tight.
Really?
So I was like, well, this has got to come to the US. So that's kind of, that's where it kind of started.
I see. And then so were you still like fully involved in the business that you were working at the time, or did you exit that, or how did you make that eventual transition to go full time at a team?
Yeah, right. So I have 2 business partners. Actually I have 5 business partners, but I have two real, majority owner business partners. College roommate of mine, his name's Rob Hoxie. He like spent his whole time in like tech and business development, software and stuff like that. He lives in Connecticut. I went to school with him in Connecticut. He was very fortunate. He was with a company like 20 years and had a small exit. And he was just kind of like doing some consulting work, Motorola here, when Motorola was still here in Illinois. He was doing some consulting work. And I called him up and I'm like, dude, we got to look at this men's skincare space. It's like, it is jamming. I want to show you some of the data and some of the stuff that I'm working on. Like, this is insane. You got to see this, like 100% growth year over year, like 100% every year in China, like 120% growth in South Korea, like 115% growth, like in Thailand, like Argentina, like 50% growth year over year in men's. I'm like, it's coming to America. And I'm like, so I had written, not a business plan. I had written like about a 10-page executive summary on this business. And I flipped it over to him and I'm like, you're just fucking around. Why don't you like take a look at this? Like, why don't you see what you can do with it? And so he spent months on it, and together collectively we spent months on it, but he spent months looking at it. And he came back and he was like, yeah, this is something I think I can get my hands wrapped around. I can build out some technology for this, and we can support it. And like, I'm a dude, you're a dude, like we can figure this out. So that's how it started. And then eventually I was playing 2 hands. I was playing the Tiege hand and the purchase point hand. And like directly to your question earlier, Dom. And then I like realized that I could only play one hand, like which one was better. And Tiege looked a little better on paper. So I went to all the people that was at purchase point and I said, And we were in our quarterly meeting, and I said to them, and after the quarterly meeting, they're like, yeah, future looks great. The next 3 years look like this, this, and this. And I said, it's great. And I just want to let you guys know I'm exiting the business. And they were really, really, really upset with me. Like really, really, really upset. Yeah. And I told them that like after dinner at the end of our quarterly, and they said, well, we all want to meet for breakfast the next morning. And I said, sure. This was in Philadelphia. I said, sure. So I met with them for breakfast the next morning, and I'm like, look, guys, I'm exiting the business, but you guys were so bullish on the business yesterday. I know we can do it. We can keep on going on this thing. And like, I'm going to set something up where you guys can just take ownership over of the business. And there's there's some intellectual property I want to own and something else. And like, here it is. This is the chance of a lifetime for you guys to own the business. And they were so mad at me. A couple of them got up and walked out.
No way.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it really kind of sucked. It didn't go like I thought.
Really?
I had in my mind it was going to go a different way. Didn't go like that at all.
Everyone's like, well, it's unfortunate, but we wish you luck.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
nope.
it was really bad.
Really? God, that must have been tough to deal with right there at that point.
Yeah, it sucked.
But you had to do what you had to do, right? If you knew the other one was going,
They fought a good fight. They kept the business going for another couple of years without me. It didn't fold up like they thought, but yeah, I mean, there's still a little bit of business there at Purchase Point, and there's some 1099s in that, and they kind of just do their own thing.
I see.
And there's actually some really, really, really cool technology. If anybody's listening to this, I've got a patent on the most badass technology in the whole world. It's around the patent is around measuring. By the way, this sounds crazy up front, but I'll explain. It's on measuring the changes in weight over time and reporting that information to like a platform database, like dashboard, let's call it. So, why is this why could this be even relevant to anything? And it was designed and is patented around in-store, like changes to inventory in-store can help retailers and help consumer good companies understand the impact of their promotions on in-store. So what this would mean would be like, we could do a promotion and put my technology in store and do a promotion for name a brand, Ave Tequila, right? It's great tequila brand you guys are working on. And we could put our physical technology underneath Ave Tequila in retail, and then we could do a promotion. So you guys developed some promotion for them. I'm just making this up, of course, where you're doing like an out-of-home thing around a party that's downtown Chicago. And then we can actually measure like the impact through the changes in weight, through the changes of volume of product being removed from the shelf. Like, did your activation like drive sales specifically in 60610 during the weekend of something where you guys had an activation?
Oh, wow.
Really cool.
So I have that technology, and I've got a lot of really great ideas for it. Unfortunately, it's just sitting there on the shelf, and I need to dust it off, and we need to get a couple young women and men that are really passionate about measurement and data. And I've got a very specific application for pet care where we can monitor a dog's health or a dog or a cat's health through their whole health, and then make sure they're eating right. It's associated.
That would
with
be big.
It's really good.
It can be huge.
So I got a great. It took me 8 years to get that patent.
Did it really?
Yeah.
8 years?
8 years.
How come it takes so long?
They're expensive too, right?
Brutally expensive.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It took about roughly like $100,000. And on developing some of the technology and getting the patents. My patent lawyer, which was a great guy, I shouldn't say too much, but he was involved in a lot of stuff with me in Taipei, and I think he ran into some rough patches in his life,
Okay.
and my patent application got off the tracks. Tried to get it back on the tracks, unfortunately, with him again. I shouldn't have gone down that path, but I feel like I'm a loyal person. I finally got it in the right hands of a massive company, Denton's downtown. I don't know, they're one of the, I think, third largest global law firm, and Denton's got it over the finish line.
There's aren't there some applications similar to that for like theft and things like that, like in bars and also stores?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like weight censored stuff out there. Ours is very specific.
And is the difference on like the tracking side of things and like the measure, like the?
It's very similar to that. It's very similar to like tracking and measurement. Okay. Yeah, very similar stuff.
Yeah, my mind goes straight to like theft, right? Like measuring like how much like of a bottle is drawn and then comparing that to sales. Or of like, like maybe hair gel on like a shelf, or people taking little samples, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So let me like bring it right back down to exactly what you're talking about. Cause you're on to it. That's exactly what, like for the Tiege Hanley business, I could develop a small, very, very small holder. Like think of something like, basically like a coaster for your cocktail glass. Like something like that, you would keep your product, your AM moisturizer on that disc. That disc would measure the changes in weight down to a fraction of a gram, and it would send that information to the cloud all the time. And then you wouldn't need to do anything. We would just send you a notification and say, you're going to be out of our AM moisturizer next Monday. Would you like us to send you a new one so that you don't run out? And you would just click yes or no.
That's amazing for like subscription services with that. Like that's huge right now, is subscribing to like hair gel and like shampoo, like men's products especially.
Yeah.
Because men don't like shopping really. So like they subscribe to all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is what you guys have. You have a whole kit, right? The $39 a month. And is that a majority of your business, the subscriptions, or?
It is. It makes about 90% of our top line revenue. We sell every single product on its own. But the concept that we have is just like, so it is a subscription, and it is like just putting what you need in your box and then customizing your box to getting it right. Cause you gotta go back like a circle or two. Like what we're part of is a total, like the concept of self-care. Like this is a huge thing that's critical for, anybody that was really kind of dialed in 10 years ago to the next 100 years is like, self-care is really important. I had a doctor's appointment this Tuesday, downtown Chicago, that I made. I had like a small incident. I needed February. It was taken care of right away. The doctor said, you got to go see a specialist. I made the appointment in like March, April. It was it's for this coming Tuesday, right? Tuesday the 12th. I have to go to Atlanta, so I cannot make this appointment. I called to reschedule the appointment. I canceled it, and I said, I'm not going to be there. I called to reschedule. They said, no problem. We'll see you on May 9th. I said, May 9th?
Whoa.
I'm like, May 9th? Are you fucking kidding me? Like, I could die between now and May 9th. Like, seriously?
Yeah.
Like, you guys are going to see me on May 9th? That's insanity.
Yeah.
And that's what happens, like, if you're just like relying on some system to like manage your health, like it doesn't work. Yeah. So like I believe, and what we're trying to do like largely is like talk to guys about like their health. Like we just play a little portion of it. It's like skin health, but we have a broader message that's like, dude, get yourself on a routine, like a healthy routine, like just like getting up regularly, working out regularly, like just get a fucking routine and stick with it, like commit to that routine, And then it's like healthy eating, right? Like, no, you can't go to Chick-fil-A every, twice a week. Like you got to have healthy, you got to start eating like healthy. You got to take care of yourself. You got to get to the gym. If you don't get to the gym, that's no problem. Ride your bike, like go for walks, like play golf, do work in the garden, like work outside, like all that shit. And then like sleep right, make sure you go to the doctors. Like, if you're a young guy every 2 years, like you got to take care of your own personal health. And like for us, it's skin. It's like skin health, man. Just like get a healthy routine and stick with it, And so we provide you like what you need, and then we give you flexibility to like customize it.
See, I think a lot of guys need to subscribe to that. I mean, I
and is that kind of where the YouTube channel, like that one of the influencers you guys worked with, Alpha M, yep. Or is that where that kind of came into? Because that's like a lot of his message.
That is. Yeah. How did that whole partnership come about? Because he's part of Tiege.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty much what you were saying.
Yeah, he's first off, shout out to Alpha M and anybody that hasn't ever checked out his channel. He's got it's Aaron Marino. He's got an Alpha N channel. He's a really, really, really great guy, and he's a great fucking business partner.
He was so early in that whole space, to be honest, because I remember
man.
seeing his YouTube videos like years ago.
I was watching him probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, before it was really like a cool thing almost.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of guys now doing it, but he was one of the first, I would think.
He was way, 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 way early.
Yeah.
And I think like our whole business really is, has a lot of alpha, like thought and words and everything to it. Like he's hardcore what I just described.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this guy's like crazy routine driven dude. I mean, like I know if I know what days to call him, that he'll be running. Like there's like a 95% chance I want to talk to him. If I call him on this time, he'll absolutely pick up. He'll be on a run.
No way.
Like 100, like
is that dialed?
like basically like 100% chance. And I talk to him every day, and he's just really routine driven, and I think that's like, I mean, like there's extremes, right? I don't think you need to be like that, but just healthy routine. So yeah, man, Aaron was with us early, and if it wasn't for him, like we wouldn't be to where we're at today.
How did that come about? Did you guys know each other previously? Was this like an outbound, hey, we think you'd be a good fit as an influencer? Because I mean, essentially, you really tapped into that whole social presence before everyone else really started doing it.
Yep.
So you were first mover advantage on that for sure.
Yeah, we got really, really, really lucky. We wanted him to, so we actually started, Rob and I started Tiege in the same concept, a box, like a not really a subscription, but giving you a routine in a box. And it was Tiege, 1.0. It was the year before we actually launched. It was 2015. So like, 3 years before kind of Purchase Point closed up, and and we reached out to Aaron. I mean, his channel was like, 800,000, which at the time was like really big, like,
massive.
Yeah. Like really, really, really I mean, it is today, I guess, right. But, not compared to where he is now. And, we just wanted him to pitch our business on the channel. Because of this, all the stuff that I've been talking about, like routine and everything else. And like, he's like the voice of male grooming. So, we figured that we would connect with him. And then he was like, man, I love this business. Let me just be a partner.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And you guys were open to it just,
yeah,
off the bat, or?
Yeah. So I rewrote the business plan. He's like, we got to get our own brand. It's got to be our own brand. It can't be other people's brands, and it's got to be like a subscription. And he's like, and I said, look, give me 3 weeks. I'm going to rewrite the business plan. So after, the executive summary stuff, I've been working on like a legit business plan. And I pitched the business plan to some investors, not seeking money, but seeking guidance. And, I rewrote the business plan. 3 weeks later, I went down and we had dinner at Ruth Chris in in Atlanta, in Buckhead. I met Aaron for the first time. We spent 8 hours together.
Oh, wow.
And that night we agreed to a partnership. And then it took us like another like 4 or 5 months to get our partnership agreement written. And then it took us, and we started right away. As soon as we agreed that night, we started right away on like developing products. Aaron started vlogging, and the business was like, was flying.
Oh, wow. So like you hit it just.
We didn't launch until July of the next year. So this was October. We didn't launch until July of the next year, version 2, which is Tiege today.
I see. Okay. That makes sense.
And we were really lucky. Rob met the week before we went down to Atlanta. Rob, again, lives in Connecticut. I'm in Illinois. Rob was playing golf and met a chemist. I mean, it was like almost fairy tale-ish. Like the chemist spent his whole career developing skincare for big brands in New York.
No way.
And he's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it in my garage for like a few points in the business.
What are the odds?
That's crazy.
Bananas, man. Total fucking bananas.
That is wild.
Yeah. And so when we went down to see Aaron, like I already knew what I wanted out of the business in terms of like, like partnership amount and like where I wanted to take the business. I presented all that to Aaron. Rob, we knew what Rob needed. So it was just a matter of like, could Aaron get the right slice of pie out of the business? And we were able to like figure out what that slice was for him. And then we were just jamming after that.
That's incredible.
So that's like a huge topic now is like businesses either partnering with influencers or influencers starting like their own businesses. And so like what sort of things did you learn or what kind of advice do you have for like that whole influencer business model now?
I'm not so sure about it as much today as I was like a long time ago.
Oh, really?
I mean, influencers massive part of our business, and it's really good because there's a learning curve. Like we're really trying to help guys, like understand skincare and like understand a routine. Right. And so like for influencers, I think like that, like when they're talking about it to dudes like through their platform, it really helps like bring it all together. So to me, like that's better than just like showing a dude an ad saying like, here's some ad, like, are you going to like get off your ass to go like engage in skincare? So I think like influencer really work well for us. But it's like really saturated. And I just like, I really get to the point where I'm wondering like, how much authenticity is out there,
Right.
Like
When everyone's pushing something.
Yeah. You guys are crushing because you're authentic, and that's like, you're telling it like it is, and I think like people understand that and gravitate towards that. But like, at what point does it end? I mean, if everybody's got a tequila out there, like, do they really give a shit about tequila? Like, I mean, I don't know, did Clooney really care about tequila? I don't know. Like, is his passion really there? Or was he like, I'm going to use my name to create a big tequila brand?
Yeah.
That is what you see a lot. I mean, you look at like Logan Paul, who's like crushing it, but like, what does he care about water? He just like started Prime Hydration because it was like an easy kind of like money maker. And so I think you put his name behind.
Yeah.
Right? I agree. I think it's not that it's like his lifelong passion to start this.
Yeah. I mean,
this brand,
It is really unique too, because going off the back of that, it's kind of similar to what you were saying with, I feel like the old model was an influencer would build up their following and they would wait for brand deals to come in.
Yeah.
And now influencers are using their platform to now build their own brands. And it almost, I feel like maybe is harder for a company, like you said, I mean, if you don't have authenticity or if a influencer's just pushing a brand after a brand, I feel like the people aren't listening as much.
Right.
But I also think it is like a bit of the future. Like I've heard a lot of people say like that is like the way, like the direction people are going is because like they want to buy from a person. So if it's the right person, like you found the right person with Tiege, right? To push the brand. So if it's the right person, people like really buy into these people and they'd rather buy from them than like Unilever sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, you're spot on. And when we do like our influencer program, that what you just described is a huge part of our like whether or not we really want to work with somebody or not. Like where they really are at with like, do they really like believe that, it's important to have healthy routines. It's important to have, and skincare is part of that, and they like our brand and like what we stand for. And if we could check those boxes, like we're like, okay, this guy or a girl is going to get behind our brand and really talk about it in a way that's meaningful. So that's it, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that
you could destroy a whole brand partnering with the wrong influencer for sure.
Correct.
Like,
yeah.
Especially someone that's like, I mean, we even talk when we have sponsors on here. It's like we don't want just any sponsor. Like we don't really think it's real because like one, people are like, shut up, like the people listening. But then two, like other brands don't want to work with you to sponsor because it's like it looks like you're just letting you're just pushing anything.
Yeah.
Like it's
Yeah. I mean, we look at all that, like how many other brand deals did someone that we want to work with, like how many brand deals did they did? What's the level of frequency? Did they switch brands, with some level of frequency? Really? All that stuff. Like we pay attention to all that.
How long are you watching? Like what is your process to find an influencer to run a campaign? And a second part of that is, do you run consistent campaigns or are you like once a quarter finding 10 people to go to? How does that work for you?
So it's a total flywheel. So we have a pretty significant like influencer team, body count wise and budget wise. I mean, we're spending
like in-house
millions and millions of dollars.
Or do you have like a team of recruiters in-house, like looking for them?
Yeah, it's all in-house.
Wow.
And so like, there's a whole process, there's like outreach, an exploratory process, an analytics process, an outreach process, more analytics, then there's like negotiations, testing, analytics, coaching, and then, and then contracting, and then longer term contracts. Wow. And then it's like, and then we're constantly repeating this cycle. So we're constantly are measuring, and everything's data driven. So how many deals, how many outreaches this week, how many new prospective people, like how many, how much reach does all of it have? Everything's all measured.
We were talking playbook earlier, and like that's a playbook that I think you could sell like crazy right now.
Absolutely.
Like that whole D2C influencer playbook,
God,
everyone is looking for the right way to do that right now.
Yeah, it is hard.
It is hard, right? And you have a lot of experience in that space, and I think probably more than most D2C brands that are messing it up. So
it's one thing. It is one of our superpowers. I wish we had equal success across all of our channels, but it is definitely a superpower.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like you were saying, not a lot of people do it right. And it's hard to, I've seen some platforms that allow you to connect.
Tons of them, yeah.
Do you guys use any of those?
We use a lot of platforms.
Because I feel like it's hard if you don't have something. Unless you're doing it all day long, it's probably hard to find people.
Yeah, and what is, there's a bunch of news this week. I'm kind of embarrassed. I don't remember the names, but there's like a whole like influencer platform company that, like on the management deal side that went public, and there was a lot of, it was going public this week or next week. And
the podcast thing?
Yeah, is that what it is?
With Theo Vaughn, where the guy
Cast Media, that guy?
And
my gosh.
And the whole like media teams are kind of like
scammed everyone.
I mean, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't think like the whole like infrastructure and stuff is like totally shaken out yet. Some of these platforms are good, but they're not good. I mean, it's just, and the motivation and the people that are trying to get in the middle there are kind of, skimming off the top. I don't really know. I think it's still a bit of the wild, wild west.
Yeah. It's early.
And it's a lot of people like scaling way faster than they're ready for, and they don't have the operations to like support that scale.
Yeah.
You start a couple, like that Cast Media company, for example, I don't know the inner workings of it, but they probably got way too big, way too fast.
Oh, sure.
Saw these big numbers.
To fund the operation.
Yeah.
And cutting people.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting what you were just saying that, you thought it's way early, like kind of like tongue in cheek, wink, wink, because it's been years, but it is so way early. I remember in early 2000s, like right after the tech bubble, I was like, oh shit, I should have gotten in. Like, it really sucked. Like, I could have jumped in on that. And I could have like done something in the 2000s. And it was like, oh, well, that ship sailed.
Yeah.
Like it's already, all that internet shit's already happened. And I mean.
You thought that early, like after
the
bubble hit, really?
And I'm like, after the whole bubble of early 2000, I was like thinking that, had I gotten in then, it still would have been 15 years early. So I'm telling you, what we're saying, I mean, it's perspective, right? We were talking about that in the first few minutes of our convo. We think it's like been around for a while, but it's early.
The AI stuff too, all that. It's like, we don't even know where that's going.
Yeah,
oh God.
You have no idea. Most of these companies with these huge exits or like these like huge valuations and stuff, it's like they don't even like have a real business model worked out. A lot of them. It's just kind of like in 10 years, they're all going to look different or be dead. The technology will still be there though, but
I don't even know how to comment on that. You guys were talking about, before we started, you were talking about some people that you guys have experience doing business with, and they're sizable companies, and they're lacking some infrastructure here and there. I mean, we are like a data-driven, marketing company, and so I would say like we're fairly close to like understanding AI. Like, I'm not saying we understand it, but I'm saying we're like tangentially close to that
right.
tech, using that when we are using AI. And I have no fucking idea. Like, and we're like close to it, like, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what's going to happen in 3 years, 5 years? I mean,
I think it's just like the technology as a whole isn't like worked out right. So like everyone's using it right, I should say, right now. It's just like we don't know where it's going, and we don't know like what's right and wrong just yet because it's new. Like, I mean, you look at like a cell phone 10 years ago.
So
you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, sure, you're using your flip phone, right? But we didn't know where it was going, and are we positioned right for that?
It's so new. I mean, and like cognitive AI is like not even really like off the ground yet. A lot of the stuff is predictive that we're seeing, which I mean, we're like in kindergarten right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Learning it.
I'm so excited for it, but also a little scared. I'm pretty deep into the tech space. I was a software engineer before, so I love following it so much. But I really think that we don't know what we're in for.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to come like way faster. I don't know if like the whole AGI thing's going to come faster than we think, but the advancements that we're going to see are going to be incredible in the next like 3 to 5 years.
Yeah, so I've always been like pretty decent at like, I always think about the future. As a matter of fact, just recently, like in the past few weeks, I've been thinking about like trying to focus more on the present. But I think way before AI really becomes like a dominant thing, I like blockchain still has yet to really have a massive impact on everybody's life. Like not people that are like thinking about like things like NFTs or Bitcoin, like, or like cyber currency, but like massive changes in the way people are living their lives. And I think like that whole thing, that will be like, I mean, talk about like internet. I mean, I was around when like the internet kind of like got started. Cell phones, didn't happen until I was like out of college. Blockchain will fundamentally change like basically how we live our lives. So like that's going to happen, and that's already been 15 years or more, like more than that.
How is that going to impact? I know a little bit about it, but
it's going to impact,
I don't know.
It's going to impact everything. I mean, it's going to impact, it's going to make, this sounds like totally crazy banana shit.
Put your tinfoil hats on.
But it's going to be like, I think it has a chance of like completely disrupting the financial services business, like completely changing that. The concept of banking and going to an ATM and how we, like, the whole banking system is just set up to facilitate the exchange of funds, right? Like how do we do commerce? Like, how does it go from you to me? And it goes through a bank, like, there's like an intermediary there. And like, and when you think about global commerce, like doing things like having businesses and transferring money to Taipei and stuff.
Currency exchanges is huge for blockchain stuff.
Yeah. It goes to my bank to, that bank to another bank to then that person's bank. And like all that basically gets circumvented by blockchain and like the whole financial infrastructure changes. And the value of currency changes, and how currencies are valued globally changes. Global currency and global interest rates are just ferociously important to business, and all that could be turned on its head in the next 20 years with blockchain. Like, I don't even know if like what roles banks are going to play in everything.
I think I kind of subscribe to the thought that they're still going to play a role. It's just going to be like an intense adoption of those technologies, like within them. And they're just going to kind of like restructure around it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I feel like, I don't know. That's going to be like, I feel like things are going to like look kind of the same. Everything's just going to be really, really different on the back end. Like a lot of these banks are like running like really, really old technology still, because it's so expensive to change when you're that big. So I think they're going to like implement a lot of it, maybe cut a lot of staff even. But I think like to us, it's still going to look like we're using, say, Chase Bank. Yeah, but it's just going to be different.
Yeah, but you may not. I think I think you're probably right. Like in the grand scope of things,
at least in the next 10 years.
But I don't like. You probably won't even need a bank. Like you will be your own. You will have your own, like your own access to your own bank, and you can do your own transactions anywhere globally on a standardized currency that is stable, and you won't, and there'll be other ways to process stuff to make sure you have security. I think like kind of like the whole thing goes away. And then if that happens, like how is your credit rating and your ability to borrow? How does all that work?
That's true. That kind of breaks down the whole.
I think that's kind of like, I think someone's like, I almost would like think that these banks are just turned to like really big tech companies, like maintaining these systems and things like that. Yeah, maybe like maintaining like the security and like the storage of it, and like maybe just like the forensics behind everything, and making sure people aren't stealing, that kind of thing. So I think they're just they're going to restructure to stay around it. They have so much money. Like if they're smart, they're going to restructure and stay in the game.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't.
No one knows.
It's really interesting. Let me just tell you something funny. Like when I was, when I was like in my 20s, I remember going to like Wisconsin. I'm an East Coast guy. I really don't know much about like outside of the city of Chicago, the Midwest. But I would go to like Wisconsin, and you would go to like a Wisconsin bar, and there'd be piles of cash, like, cash, like US dollars on the bar all over the place. And you'd be like down the other side of the bar and you like talking to your buddy and you like order a beer. And then the bartender would go like over to your pile of cash that was at the other end of the bar, like scoop up a $5 or whatever and go into the cash register, right? So everybody just like have other piles of cash, like, you know, on the bars. I was like, when I saw that for the first time, I'm like, this is the most fucked up thing I've ever seen.
I understand. Yeah.
Because people would just go into bars with like a $20 bill or whatever it was and put it down on the bar. You're in a local bar where everybody knows everybody in Wisconsin. No one brought out a credit card and like gave the bartender like a credit card, you know, and said start a tab. Yeah. Everybody knew each other. Like they just put their money on the bar and say, there it is. Like
that's your tab.
That's my tab, right?
No way.
And I was like, this is crazy shit, man. And
now they'd be like, is this the tip?
Yeah, there was something so beautiful about that, like so pure and so trustworthy.
That is really cool.
And so like blockchain kind of and of crypto kind of like gets us there where we're not, I don't need to give I'm not using my Apple to go to Square, to go from, you know, Square to my bank, from my bank, you know, out of my money, from the bank to Square to them. Like all that doesn't need to happen. We just kind of go back to this concept of I'm putting a pile of cash on the bar and like he's taking money from it. And I'm the manager of my own money. And if anybody touches my pile, by the way, I'm going to kill you. Right. So like that.
Yeah.
So that's like, all right. That's how it's kind of fucked up. But that, I think blockchain has like, before we even get to AI, blockchain's going to change us dramatically.
Yeah, I think we're going to see like the implementation happen like over the course of like Internet of Things, like smart homes and like smart offices. All of that's going to happen
There you go.
really, really soon. I mean, it's already happening, but like we're going to see that stuff happening really, really, really soon. The way applications in general are built, it's going to happen there first. Through companies like Amazon's working on stuff, Facebook's working on stuff. Like they're going to restructure how like the apps that we use every day are built and like how information's stored. And I think it's slowly going to make its way to those things that are a little bit more sensitive, like money or insurance. Insurance has huge applications for blockchain. That's going to be like, I think that'll be like the most affected.
Yeah. I mean, insurance is going to be, at some point, insurance and then health insurance, those two things are going to get, somebody is going to completely disrupt that
those
business.
Ones are going to get
it's going to get annihilated. I mean, insurance has been old guard business and has not changed dramatically in ever.
Yeah.
And it's going to be destroyed by somebody. There's going to be an Elon Musk of insurance at some point. That is just
blockchain in that world is just like a dramatically better solution.
Yeah.
It seems like, from what I know, it's just like a better way of doing it. So
yeah, it's that whole system's so fucked up. My friend was telling me he was trying to sell his house in Florida. His house is like 15 years old. The buyer, there's a new law there that the roof has to be up to code and it needs to be within code in 10 years. He needs to replace his roof to buy his house because the buyer can't get insurance for his house because his roof is too freaking old. And there's nothing wrong with his roof, but it won't be insured. So the buyer can't buy it because he can't get insurance can't cover the mortgage requires insurance, proof of insurance.
So you got to get a whole new roof.
It's such an old business. It's slow and bonkers, you got to call someone for like 3 hours. Like it's just this.
It's just crazy, man.
Terrible
so they're
business.
That all is going to be disrupted.
It's cool to see, like, okay, especially in your eyes, right? As seeing the landscape of business change and then seeing all of the new, like you were kind of saying, you felt like you already were done with the bubble, right? Like you already felt like it was over, but there's always something new coming out. And there's always some new platform you could be on or some new technology that's coming out. It really is endless when you think about it.
You guys have a lot to look forward to.
Yeah.
I was saying earlier, I'm kind of like thinking about my career differently than you guys are, but you have a lot to look forward to.
It's cool that you're still keeping up with all of it though. And you're like really like, you can tell you really got like your finger on the pulse with all of it, especially through your business, even with like influencers. Well, like think about it. I mean, he's got like, he's looking at influencers every day. That's pretty wild. Like we don't even do that.
Yeah. I mean, ask me about a movie, an actor, about, any of that stuff. I can't tell you anything. I mean, and I'm not kidding. You put $1,000 down on the table and tell me, like, name an actor or an actress and say what movie they're in. I mean, there's a very, very, very high probability I will have no idea.
I'm the same way. I'm really bad at
But
that.
but you want to talk about business? You know, I'm just interested in it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I'm like, I get that. Like, I understand that. I'm very interested in that. I'm very motivated by that. I'm just not motivated by other things.
I completely
What
agree
brought
with
you there? It seems like, have you always been like that interested in that? And like, did you start a lot of businesses like growing up, or how did you really like find that?
You know, I've been, I hate to say this, I hope no one's listening, but I'm just kidding. You know, I've been always very like motivated by money.
Right.
You know,
that's the path to money, kind of.
Yeah, I'm sorry if that disappointed any of your listeners, but
I think everyone's like deep down thinks the same. Everyone that's passionate about business, I think that's like the initial factor for most people. So they just see, okay, if I want to make a lot of money, that seems to be the route to do it.
Yeah, I think like where it kind of comes from for me, and I'm sure a lot of your listeners and you guys will relate to this, but like I like most young men. By the way, I'm talking men because there happens to be only men here, but I'm in the men's space, so that's why I'm not being disrespectful to your women listeners. But I was very into athletics. You know, I was very, very motivated by sports. I was very motivated by winning. I'm very motivated, by the whole concept of sports, right? So that creates like this concept in many of our minds about like what success and failure looks like, and what it takes, like how much effort it takes to be good at something. And then when you start like really getting into your career, really getting into your life, it becomes like a sport. Like business becomes like a sport.
It's like the next natural step after sports. Like when you're an adult, like what else are you going to do really? I mean, that's how you win. There's a scoreboard. There's a literal scoreboard to it.
It's exactly like that. It just, and the world gets really, really big. Like it's only, you and the 5-10 other guys on your team playing these other 10, 15 teams, whatever it is. And then as you get into, college, it gets bigger and bigger. But then when you get into the world, into the business world, like it's really big. You're not just competing against people like in the city of Chicago. You're competing with people all around the world who are trying to do the same thing. There's people everywhere doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. And I'm like competing against them all. And like, I look at every day, like I want to fucking win today. Not tomorrow. I want to win every fucking day. And so that just, I'm just motivated by that. And, I mean, and that's cool. Like not everybody, not everybody's like thinks like that. And I'm not saying that's good either. It's just the way I think.
Have you figured out yet what makes it a win to you? Like for that day or that year? Absolutely.
Like it's a win when I feel like I've accomplished several things during the day. It's almost like if you were, if you lived in like Roman times, like, literally did you survive that day? Mm-hmm. Like, did someone, whether or not you're, in an arena somewhere or just like trying to live your life, did like, there's no law, there's no anything. Did someone come up and try to steal you or, take your child and like kill, and you had a battle and killed them? It's like same thing today. Like, did I accomplish the things that I was trying to accomplish? Like I sat down to accomplish these 3 or 4 or 5 things. How did I do today? How did I perform? Was I focused today? Was I on point? Was I on schedule? Did I make a difference? Was I able, and minutely, was I able to do things that actually made a difference, or was I doing things that was productive that didn't really fucking matter? So I think of it that way.
Yeah.
Did you move the needle?
Did I move the needle that day? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think that's something that like a lot of people like our age and everything struggle with a lot, with like getting into like the work world, and whether you have your own company or if you just work for someone else. I think a lot of people struggle with like one thing that you said that was like low priority items that you're just like knocking out that don't matter.
Yep.
And then also with like recognizing what makes a good day, or like what means that you like did what you're supposed to do. Is it like 3 tasks or, you know, were you just like off focus or whatever, but like just finding those like measurements that you need. People, I think we all struggle with like measurements.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. I like, you're right on. Like, you know, so like making sure you're not doing things that you're not doing work that's not productive is, you know, that really truly doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
Busy work. And really understanding like how to prioritize your day, your time, and how to make sure that you're doing things that you're following up on. Like you're not just doing things and then they're going by the wayside. You're actually you're actually constantly improving and working on those things. And it takes a lot of discipline too.
It does.
So yeah.
It does take a lot of discipline, and kind of almost circling back to the day to day, right? Like if you were, you know, 20, 25, starting a company today in the, maybe not even same industry, but, you know, consumer product focused, like what would you do differently, if anything, today? Or like, what would be one piece of advice to someone doing that?
If I was 25 again, I'd be more humble like you guys. I wouldn't be as, you know, I wouldn't be as high strung. I'd remember to always check your humility, because there's always out there someone that's better, smarter, brighter, better looking, faster, funnier, you fucking name it. So I'd be more humble. I would definitely, I would definitely like surround myself with the skills that I don't have. Right. So we all have like things that we're particularly good at. You know, you might be particularly good at technology, and, you know, you might be particularly good at marketing and branding. I would surround myself with people that think like me, that that not just think like me today, but like get grounded with what is the next 2 or 3 years, like what's important and motivated, and what motivates you and all those things. So make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people that can complement your skills, but have the same desires that you do. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's hard for people to find those people, right? Like
Brutal.
Yeah. I don't know what the solution is there, but I know everyone really that wants to change their circle, and it's like, well, where do you go?
Well, you know,
True.
So, you know, you guys already know this because, you know, you're successful, your podcast is amazing, but, you know, you got to get yourself out there. You know, you just have to get yourself out there. You have to get out of your basement, you know, out of your, you know, apartments. You got to get yourself out there, and, you know, and that's the only way you can make things happen. Mm-hmm. The only way you can make things happen is to get out there, get in organizations, network, you know, go to that show in whatever, Vegas, and meet new people, be energized by it. Go to, you know, if you're in e-commerce, like Grow LA, you know, Sub Summit, if you're in subscription, and, you know, see what other people's doing, talk to people, you know, network. The power of networking is unbelievable.
It's literally everything. I feel like your network is your net worth. That's what they say.
Yeah.
And ask people for help. I don't know why people don't understand that there are people out there, a lot of people that are willing to help. They don't have to have something in exchange to help you. Ask for someone's help. It's a simple thing. I don't know why people are afraid to do it. You should be asking people for help. And you don't have to be an ass about it. But you could say, look, man, I am struggling here. Can I get 15 minutes of your time? I want to know how I can maybe do something like this. And most people that have a heart and soul will help you.
I completely agree. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. That is probably the biggest thing that has helped our business. I mean, we've never been scared to reach out to just random people and just being like, hey,
in the same industry as us, if they've like an exit of like a company, like just like ours, we're like, hey, can we talk for a little bit?
Wonderful.
They're just like, yeah, let's do it.
And it's amazing because
they always say yes.
Yeah. People always
like,
want to,
at least.
They always want to sit down and talk, and it's great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
A lot of people are nervous to do that. They really are.
Yeah.
Beyond nervous.
Yeah.
They
never would.
Never will.
And that's the first thing my brain goes to. If I want to learn something or we have a problem, like, who do we know that might be able to, can we buy them a cup of coffee and sit down with them for 20 minutes and can they help us? And
yeah, it's phenomenal.
hopefully one day we can return the favor,
Yeah, and I think there's like a piece to it, like where like these people help you. Like I think they enjoy it. Like people who have like gotten to where they've wanted to get, like they'll want to give back. You're saying you want to give back earlier, through podcasts and stuff. I think people kind of enjoy feeling like everything they did is for something.
Yeah.
They can help the next guy or whatever,
If you're going to reach out to somebody, if anybody that's listening, like if you're going to reach out to somebody for help, don't just reach out and say, yo, dude, like, love your stuff. You guys are doing great. Like, hey, I got a question for you. Can we have coffee or something? Like that is not the right way. You have to be very specific about what it is that you're asking. We're all like crazy busy. We all have a lot of friends. We're not always looking for new friends to have coffee with. So it should be very specific. Like, yo, Dom, I'm working on this podcast. I'm having a hard time with this. Like you guys are really doing well over there. Like I can't reach out and connect people. What XYZ, here's my problem. Can I buy you a cup of coffee? I need exactly 30 minutes from 8 o'clock to 8:30. Can I meet? I'll come out to meet you. Can I do that?
Yeah.
And then the dude's or the woman's gonna say like, hey, I feel your pain. I can't help you with that, but go talk to Sally.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, I always like throw that up. Like if you might not be the right person, like, do you have anyone in mind that could?
That's perfect.
Yeah. I always like throw that on there because even like when I'm reaching out for like podcast guests, like it doesn't always work, but I'll be like, if you're not interested, like, do you have someone else in mind that would fit this?
That's perfect.
And I feel like that's,
Yeah.
at least it gives them an out. That's what I always think. It gives them like an easy out. Cause like they don't be like, I don't want to help you, but they're like, instead they just like offload it.
Yeah.
Pawn you onto somebody
Yeah,
else.
exactly.
That's awesome. And when you're specific, like they may say like, I can't help you with that. Like, and you're not wasting their time or anything, and they're saying like, yeah, that's not good. I can't.
True. Yeah. You don't have to like corner them and then they find out it's not something they're interested in.
Yeah. Or they really could add any value to you.
Yeah.
They're like,
that's
oh,
true.
great. Glad
That's
I
a
wasted
good
my
point.
time.
Yeah. That's a really good point.
Oh, I love it. I mean,
Sweet.
yeah, I think we got everything we need here. I'm gonna be completely honest. It's amazing. I really appreciate it.
Want to run an intro?
Yeah, I'll do it after.
Let's do an intro.
A separate one. I'll put one in before this whole entire thing.
Cool.
But yeah, no, thank you so much for coming on. I think we got everything.
Thank you. I
really appreciate
loved
you
it.
coming out here.
Thanks,
Great
guys.
conversation. And
You guys are
look forward to
crushing
staying
it.
connected.
I really appreciate everything you're doing. You're obviously here to help out your community. And it's really great that you guys reached out and offered me the opportunity to come talk to you. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
I
I think people are
appreciate
going to learn a lot from this one.
Yeah, really excited.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in. We really appreciate it. We will see you next week.
So yeah.
Bye.